Today, the soccer star is entering a brave new world in which living for kicks has its own special meaning. The big occasion, fame, travel are all part of the game, and so now are high rewards. All this and the world at his feet. And if he's a Jimmy Greaves scoring here, he has a price on his head to make even millionaires wince. But behind the Saturday glory, the big game fervour is a highly competitive profession. Out of thousands of players given trials every year by the top clubs of England, Scotland and Wales, only a handful get as far as Burnley's Alex Elder and sign professional forms to begin at 17 or 18, an exacting career in which only the best can hope to reach the top. Here's the way many stars begin, playing in the cobbled arenas of Clydeside and Lancashire, or in the new parks and open spaces. But it's not often you find a First Division club's talent scout watching backstreet players. Who said it was tough at the top? What about the bottom? Never in the 100 years of soccer has so much help been given to those who want to learn the game. Every year between 400 and 500 schoolmasters, youth leaders and others qualify as coaches under the Football Association scheme. Coaches such as former West Ham player Malcolm Allison visit schools at a cost to the FA of £10,000 a year. And more professionals are passing out as fully fledged coaches. Here's Jimmy Hill, the player who's done more than anyone to win a new deal for professional footballers, showing you've got to use your head. Nowadays, the more go-ahead clubs take their responsibilities to young players very seriously. West Ham United chairman Reg Pratt is one of the many who believes in preparing them for the time when their playing days are over. Few players can stand the pace and strain of modern football beyond their mid-30s. But now, how's our young professional getting on? He's following the example of the best and getting down to it. And to an old player, there's nothing so sweet as to see a star in the making. Dedicated, self-disciplined, strong in the tackle, fearless, and with keen positional sense, Alex Elder's got most of the things that it takes to make a top-class player. Day after working day, he practices, polishing those moves that have helped put Burnley among the footballing elite of Europe, along with Spurs and the famous Rangers of Glasgow. Ever since the professional footballer was recognised more than 75 years ago, his status has been improving. Slowly and against opposition most of the time, but lately, very quickly. Today, he's neither a slave, nor is he pampered. He gives pleasure to millions. With the top clubs, he gets the best medical attention, with everything from heat lamps to a wax bath designed to get the swellings out of sprained ankles. Yet in the end, everything comes back to the player himself, to his character, his determination to keep on top of his game, and this can mean austere living. He moves through the junior teams, into the reserves, and then, if he's good enough, into the first team. This is the moment he's waited for. Into the cauldron he goes. Those who really make football the big game are the dedicated players like Elder. They know the glory and also the cost of having the ball at their feet.
For the first time in the Cup's short, hectic history, the final rounds came to be played in Britain, in the islands where the game, as we now know it, was born more than a century ago. England had never won the World Cup, had never been in its final, but Alf Ramsey always believed that it could be done. Bobby Moore and Bobby Charlton are but two of his star-laden training squad, key men. It was said that Ramsey gets the best from his stars when he has them abroad on foreign tours. So a vital program of international games was arranged before the start of the Cup matches. It was designed to give the manager his chance to knit together a team of world class, and world class it has to be. A few years ago, the England team wasn't rated with an outside chance, but Alf Ramsey never agreed. And it was a tribute to him that as the World Cup series drew near, so his team became favourites with the holders Brazil. More than 1 million people all over the country now play what used to be a rich man's game. The young, the old, and even the disabled. Once they fall for it, they never lose the charm of this infuriating and enchanting game. Experts reckon that more than £20 million is spent on the game every year in Britain alone, in club dues, green fees, and equipment. Young tournament player Anne Sutton shows what it's like to give the game the full treatment. She has her own trolley, a full bag of matched clubs, and all the gadgets that golfers grow to love, not to mention sporting tailor-mades and special shoes. Her clubs and outfit would cost about £120, and she makes them look well worth it. There are more than 3,000 golf clubs in Britain and hundreds of public or municipal courses, on which a workaday round costs £0.50 or so. Of these last, the best known is probably Richmond Park near London, where play starts at 7 in the morning. Even at that early hour, there's often a small queue of cars, some of them with players who've just come off night work and who book their places to tee off. You don't have to be a millionaire to play golf today. It's no longer just a game for the rich or the leisurely. Nearly 500,000 women, many of them housewives, now play it. Some of them with desperate seriousness. Others because it makes a break from the kitchen sink. Many of the experiments are carried out at Loughborough College of Advanced Technology. A man is wired up to a delicate instrument that records the tiny electric impulses that are produced by his nerves when his muscles are in action. These minute currents produce a movement on the needle, varying according to the way the muscles are working. So the machine gives a scientific picture of what happens in a golf swing and how the various muscles are used. Nothing could look simpler than putting, until you try it. But what goes wrong? Why don't they all drop? A test surface and thousands of putts, all recorded on a punch card system, are helping to supply the answer. Out on a practice ground, a young woman golfer helps to test the effect of her swing on the club under playing conditions. That's one thing certain about golfers. They have an intense curiosity about this game, and they'll take endless trouble to get their swing into a groove so that they hit the ball in the same way every time they look at it. Then there's another side to the question the experts are asking. How exactly does the golf ball behave as it spins its way through the air? This could have a bearing on the way you hit it. The answer's to be found at the Royal Military College of Science at Shrivenham, in a wind tunnel, where scientists and engineers can recreate conditions similar to the speed and flight of the ball. Back at Loughborough, the scientists will often use a computer. They feed into the machine all the information they've obtained by their experiments. And in the end, the computer can tell them what the golfer has done in terms of mathematics. The golf swing. Its secrets will take some years to put on paper. When it's really explained by the scientists, it'll help players not only of golf, but all sorts of games.
The spirit of cricket still abides in the villages, where on Friday evenings, men like painter, medium-pace bowler Cyril Ackerman start thinking about tomorrow's game. For young Brian, the deep field. Marking creases, Builder George. Light mower, Ron Cummins wondering perhaps about his lunch. It's his wife Olive's turn to cut the sandwiches. For at every home match, two wives take it in turn to prepare, deliver and serve tea. Today, it's Olive Cummins and Pat Goodall. The mixture of dour contest and amiable picnic proceeds with up-to-the-minute information provided. At last, tea. Those taking part, 22 performers, scorers and one hopeful dog. From village green to cricket's centre of gravity, the most famous pitch of all. The sacred core of 19.5 acres of priceless property where cricket has been played by the Marylebone Cricket Club for 150 years. Yes, this is Lord's. Cricket at Lord's doesn't just happen. There's a ritual. The fielding side filed through the historic long room packed with the ghosts of cricketers whose achievements and peculiarities are frequently revived by the commentators. The opening batsmen follow. Cricket, like other sports, is a career. Today, there are no gentlemen, no players, there are just cricketers. The one certain thing about cricket is that it can always be relied on to start a discussion. If it's not the bowlers, it's the batsmen. If it's not the players, it's the laws. The impact of cricket varies. To some, the game is sacred. To some, a background for knitting. On others, it makes no impact at all.
Style, colours, the right anorak, and of course those eye-catching ski trousers. What does it cost to become a skier? You can get your equipment for around £30, and a fortnight on the slopes costs between £40 and £50. Beginners need to exercise long before they reach the snowfields. Schools like this, in a famous London sports shop, prepare novices for the adventure to come. Muscles used in skiing are neglected most of the year, and former ski champion Annie Moray knows how to tone them up. Swing, swing, keep going now from the hips. For fun and competition, some 85,000 skiers leave for the continent every winter from Britain. Thousands go by rail or air in parties laid on by travel agents. Others get their skiing nearer home. Today, Scotland has more than 20 skiing centres strung across its highlands from Glencoe to the mighty Cairngorms. Local Scots enthusiasts put up this chairlift working through the summer months. Older hands at the game think the present generation of skiers is being softened by all this mechanisation. One last check. Safety bindings on modern skis have done a lot to cut the accident rate. But even at this altitude, the force of gravity is still what it always was. Come on, up you get. No, you can't go all the way down like that. At skiing, you find your own gradient as well as your own level, whether it's a nursery slope or one of the fast, steep runs of packed snow that challenge courage, strength and skill. Here at Murren, in the Bernese Oberland, birthplace of downhill ski racing and the slalom, the British Championships are in progress. And here, competing in the giant slalom, is the Aga Khan. He's a British citizen and a long-standing member of the ski club. He must twist through those gates, lightning-fast turns, if he's to stand a chance of a winning time. A missed gate means the competitor is out. Now comes Winston Churchill, grandson, of course, of Sir Winston. And here comes Charles Palmer Tompkinson in top gear, all out, and making the fastest time, 2 minutes, 7.6 seconds. With his good time in the slalom, it's enough to bring him victory. So a new British champion is born. And though British skiers may not yet be among the world's best, they're certainly getting a place on the Alpine map. The fastest way you can travel on land without a motor is to cycle. Speeds of about 40 miles an hour are not uncommon. A fair rate, with nothing beneath you but a bit of steel tubing and 2 slim air-filled compartments. The great cycling event in this country is the 1,500-mile Tour of Britain. 85 competitors, including teams from 7 countries as well as British regional teams, started out. After the mass start, competitors thin out and many of them drop out or are eliminated for not finishing their stage in time. "23¼ miles per hour was the winner's average over 12 days along a route that takes in Welsh mountains and Lake District peaks. The game gives Britain one of its few world champions, Beryl Burton of Leeds, who in 12 hours has covered 277 miles, a greater distance than any other cyclist, man or woman. Just turned 30, this dedicated athlete, mother of a girl of 11, pedalled away on her own to win the World Amateur Road Championship for Women at the Holland meeting. Championships and records all come the same to Beryl Burton. She's gained so many of them. Scudding home in front of a spread-eagled field is no novelty to Beryl Burton.
Stirling Moss, here checking his BRM, is still considered by many as the fastest of all Grand Prix drivers. And the newest star racing for Britain is Australia's Jack Brabham, with a brilliant list of recent successes and the promise of more to come. Brabham's rise to stardom is as sensational as the rise of the little car he drives, the Cooper, a relatively low-powered British car with the behaviour of a thoroughbred. In only its second full year of international racing, the Cooper is suddenly leading the world in the trophies it snatched throughout Europe, the States and down under. And clocking Jack Brabham as he drives is the man who helped to make her, John Cooper. The first Cooper racing car came off the drawing board just after the war. John designed it with his father and drove it in small car races, 500cc events. Soon it was making a brilliant name for itself. Here's Brabham, Cooper's top driver, coming in from a test run. They talk the same language. Brabham is a top mechanic, a quality quite rare among racing stars. The Cooper recipe: put the engine in the rear, concentrate on suspension, handling ability rather than all-out power. But where does Britain find her racing stars? Many begin as amateurs, driving in sports car rallies, hill climbs, club events, and then going on to buy, hire, share, or build their own racing car. Another Cooper contribution to British car racing is the School for Would-Be Racing Drivers, which they've started at Brands Hatch in Kent. There, instructors lead the beginners round the track under the eyes of judges in the stands. With the instructor as pacemaker, the first test is 12 laps of the twisting hilly circuit at Brands Hatch. Right from the start, testing of beginners is pretty searching. It has to be. Those who still show promise, as the pacing is speeded up, are singled out for more advanced training, more severe tests, this time at the school's expense. Only about one pupil in 75 gets right through the next solo stage of schooling and sets foot on the first rung of the professional racing ladder, driving Cooper cars with the firm's backing in his first junior formula events. But it's a long haul to this, the British Grand Prix at Aintree, and they're off. Right from the start, it's the Australian Brabham, number 12, who streaks to the front. And Betty Brabham, a true racing wife, clocks his sizzling lap times from the pit counter as he streaks past the stands. Even over 2 hours of all-out driving, the pace is so hot and the running so close that a driver forced to a pit stop can see his chances vanish in the seconds it takes to refuel. And oh dear, here's Moss stopping, a wheel change that treads right off his tyres. And now they're flashing Brabham bad news about his tyres. Brabham ignores his pit and fights to stay ahead on worn-out tyres, with Moss gaining on him every time round. But as Betty Brabham watches the last lap round, her husband's still ahead. He's held off Moss to win. There's the flag as he streaks across the finish. And here's Moss, not the luckiest, seconds behind. And first to reach the winner is a young man with a big dream, maybe, of coming in first himself one day and having the world fall round his neck, just like this. And a kiss from his very best girl, just like this.
Stock car racing came to Britain from America 7 years ago. Is it a genuine sport or just an infantile craze? Unlike ordinary motor racing, it doesn't contribute to motor car manufacturing. Perhaps it's simply an outlet for drivers who get too much of this. But one thing is certain. The 1,000-odd stock car enthusiasts in Britain should never run short of raw material. They build their cars from a variety of parts, all of which can be picked up pretty cheaply. A man's sport? Not a bit of it. Quite a few gals have had a go at stock car racing. 37-year-old Tanya Crouch with her mechanic has raced for 6 years. For safety, doors are welded shut, by the way, but Tanya's used to getting in this way. There's plenty of space on their Sussex farm to try out that new motor. The cars stream into the pits at the track well before time, for there's plenty of work to be done. Tyres are stripped at the rate of 2 a race, so wheels have to be changed. Hairdresser's model, Mrs. Betty Mason from Chichester, is her husband's mechanic. As the work goes on, the official Board of Control scrutineer checks all cars and driver's safety harness, which must be fastened to the floor, not to the seat. Bumpers of regulation size must not protrude beyond the tyres. Warnings are issued. A car not up to regulations is barred. At the Brayfield, Northamptonshire track, it's an afternoon meet, and the girls turn up to cheer on their favourites. Drivers get a minimum £3 starting money, £10 for a win. There'll be as many as 40 cars at the meeting, 20 in a race. They're all ready now, and they're off. And so is someone's wheel. The first bend is murder. It's every man for himself. Get out of the way. Someone's having tyre trouble. Stop? Not on your Nelly. What's a tyre here or there? This is a 20-lap contest, about 8 miles, if you keep going the right way, that is. Look out, he's after you. The field's being cleaned out now, and the red tops are setting the pace. Move over. The barrels take a pasting, and with wrecks everywhere, things get a bit tricky. Cornering. This is how to do it. Whoops-a-daisy. No wonder those chassis have to be reinforced. The red tops have lapped what's left of the field by now, and soon it's the finish for those who survive this race of crashes, bangs, and whops. Breakdown lorries sort out the pile-ups. The track must be cleared for the next event. To the majority of drivers, stock car racing is a highly competitive sport. To a few, it's a smashing craze.
India's Gujarat is home to a controversial clinic where families from all over the world can pay local women to bear children for them. Is it exploitative, or does it give local women a chance to escape poverty? House of Surrogates, here on BBC4 next.